The twin suns of Velthara Prime hung low on the horizon, to molten eyes watching the end of war. Commander Rylan Kale stood atop the marble balcony of the Hall of Accord, his reflection caught between their overlapping flares. His armor was scorched, cracked in a dozen places, a relic of the battle that had just rewritten galactic history. The cheers below rose like a living wave. Two races, once sworn enemies, now celebrated side by side. The Dravari, crystalline and ethereal, shimmered like living prisms as the sunlight passed through their translucent skin. The Lyrans, tall and strong with metallic hair and obsidian eyes, stood shoulder to shoulder with them, their silver insignias catching the light. For the first time in 500 years, neither side was holding a weapon. And all of it, every fragile breath of peace, had come from a single human. Rylan didn't feel like a savior. His chest still ached from the final explosion that had destroyed the orbital warforge, and his mind was haunted by the faces of the pilots who hadn't made it back. He had done what he had to do, what no one else could, but he hadn't done it for glory. He'd done it to stop the killing. Commander Kale of Terra, boomed the voice of High Matron Solara, leader of the Dravari Dominion. Her voice echoed through the plaza like a song made of glass. The Dominion and the Syndicate stand united in their gratitude. You have given us a gift beyond measure. Rylan forced a small smile as Solara approached. Her form seemed to shift with every step, her body refracting the sun's light into ribbons of color that danced across her ceremonial robe. She was ageless, her expression carved from serenity itself. On the other side of the days, Overlord Jivar of the Lyran Syndicate towered over her. His armor gleamed like a living starship hull, and his eyes burned faintly with magnetic energy. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of thunder. By the laws of the Velthran Accord, a debt of life and honor must be repaid. You, human, have ended a war our ancestors could not. For that, the Dominion and Syndicate both owe you reward. Rylan shifted uncomfortably. That's not necessary. I didn't do this for. Jivar raised a hand. It is not a choice. It is tradition. The air hummed with anticipation. Two attendants approached from opposite sides of the days, each leading a figure. One from the Dominion, one from the Syndicate. And when they stepped into the light, the plaza fell silent. The first was Kaelira, the Dravari's youngest healer. Her body seemed made of living starlight, crystalline veins glowing faintly beneath her skin. Her eyes were a shifting violet, reflecting every emotion like facets of a gem. Tiny filaments along her neck pulsed softly with her heartbeat, and translucent wings folded neatly against her back, refracting the suns into a shimmering halo. She bowed her head slightly, voice melodic and calm. Commander Kale, I was told you restored the breath of the dying fleet with your own vessel. Among my people, that is an act of pure life-giving. You are owed gratitude beyond words. Rylan hesitated, trying not to stare at the ethereal beauty before him. You patched up my pilots after the siege. I remember you. Her lips curved into a gentle smile. And you thanked me before you passed out on the med table. Jivar cleared his throat pointedly, or whatever the Lyran equivalent of a throat was. And from the Syndicate, he said, gesturing to the second figure, comes our offering. The second woman stepped forward, and the air shifted. Test single quotes Ra, a Lyran strike captain, known across the quadrant for her ferocity in battle. Her silver hair was cut short, practical, but somehow still fell around her angular face like liquid metal. Her eyes were piercing, gray as a thunderhead, and she wore the scars of war-like metals. Where Kaelira radiated light and calm, Tessra pulsed with strength, a living storm-given form. She gave Rylan a sharp, assessing look. So you're the human who shut down the core detonator with his bare hands. I figured you'd be taller. Rylan raised a brow. I get that a lot. Solara and Jivar stepped between them, their gestures ceremonial. Mirrored opposites. As our laws dictate, Solara said softly, the Savior may claim one bond of honor, a companion of his choosing, to share his life and power. Jivar nodded. Each of us offers one, but you may choose only one. The plaza went still again. Thousands of Dravari and Lyran eyes fixed on him, watching, waiting. Rylan looked from Kaelira's tranquil glow to Tessra's fierce, smoldering presence. One represented peace, the other strength. One healed, the other fought. and both had risked everything beside him on the battlefield. He felt the weight of every gaze, every unspoken law. Choose one. Divide the gift. Maintain the balance. He exhaled slowly. You're telling me I can only choose one? Solara inclined her head. Such is the custom. Harmony must have a single focal point, Commander, and to choose both, Jivar added, would be to defy the old laws. It would mean uniting what was never meant to be joined. Ryland's jaw tightened. He had spent his whole career watching people die because someone said this side, or that side was forbidden to cross. He had seen entire fleets burn for the sake of balance. He looked at Kaelira, her violet eyes glowing faintly, uncertain but kind. Then at Tessera, standing straight, expression unreadable, as if daring him to make the wrong move. And then he smiled, that crooked, reckless smile that had gotten him into, and out of, more trouble than anyone could count. Balance, huh? He said, stepping forward. Funny thing about balance, sometimes it takes two to make it work. Solara blinked. What do you mean? Ryland extended both hands, one toward Kaelira, the other toward Tessera. Why not both? A ripple of shocked murmurs tore through the crowd. The suns flared brighter, as if reacting to the audacity of his words. The Dravari gasped. The Lyrans growled in confusion. Even the ancient stones of the hall seemed to hum with unease. Jivar's eyes burned brighter. You dare what? Ryland cut in, calm but firm. To unite what I just fought to save. To bring peace to both sides. Truly, instead of keeping the same walls that started this war in the first place. Solara and Jivar exchanged a long, unreadable glance. The silence stretched until even the wind seemed to stop. Then, slowly, Kaelira stepped forward, her wings unfurling in a soft cascade of light. I accept, she said gently. If this is the choice of the one who bridged our worlds, then I will stand by it. Tessera crossed her arms, expression torn between irritation and intrigue. You're insane, human, he grinned. Usually, a flicker of something like amusement crossed her eyes. Fine, let's see where this madness leads. The suns blazed behind them, their light fusing into one molten halo, and the crowd, uncertain but captivated, began to cheer, and in that moment, beneath the twin suns of Velthara Prime, a single decision sent a tremor through the fabric of destiny, because, somewhere deep beneath the surface, far below the cheering crowds and the trembling light, something ancient stirred, and it whispered, the unchosen awaken. The celebration lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. On the surface, it looked like unity. 2 alien civilizations feasting together under the twin suns, their cities filled with light and song. But beneath the beauty, tension simmered like plasma under glass. Every Dravari crystal tower glowed brighter than usual, as if overcompensating for unease. Every Lyran fortress remained on alert, their sentinels posted at every gate. Ryland Kale had done the impossible. He'd made peace and broken tradition at the same time. He wasn't sure which one would get him killed first, the ceremony aftermath day after his choice. Ryland found himself alone in the Temple of Binding Light, a structure older than both the Dravari and the Lyrans, built by a civilization lost to time. Its marble corridors seemed alive, veins of blue energy pulsing faintly through the walls like an ancient heartbeat. The temple was supposed to host a single bonding ritual. Instead, it now stood divided by 2 ceremonial altars, one carved from luminous crystal, the other from black stone metal. Between them lay an empty daze, a neutral space that had never been used. Until now, Ryland traced his fingers across the edge of the daze, feeling the faint hum beneath his skin. You feel that? He murmured. Kaelira stood nearby, her translucent wings shimmering faintly in the filtered sunlight. It reacts to intention, she said softly. The temple senses conflict. It has always done so. Then it must be very confused right now, Ryland replied. Smiling. From behind him came a low chuckle, the unmistakable sound of Tessera leaning against a pillar, her arms crossed, all impatience and quiet amusement. Confused. It's ancient tech. It probably thinks you're an idiot. Ryland turned, smirking. You're not the first to say that. I can imagine, she said, brushing a strand of metallic hair from her face. But at least the views improved. Kaelira tilted her head, curious. You speak as though mockery is affection. For Lyrans, it is, Tessera said dryly. If I didn't like him, I'd already have punched him. Rylan raised an eyebrow. Good to know I'm in your good graces then. Tessera's smirk deepened. Barely, the three of them stood in that charged silence, not quite tension, not quite comfort, as the hum of the temple deepened. The light dimmed. Kalira frowned, placing a delicate hand on the days. Something is changing. The energy flow has altered. Altered how? Rylan asked. The harmonic resonance is destabilizing. It's listening. Listening to what? Before anyone could answer, the floor shuddered. A deep, resonant tone rippled through the chamber like a bell struck by a god. The walls flared with alien sigils, patterns none of them recognized. And from somewhere below the temple came a voice, low and layered, whispering in a language that hurt to hear. To paths become one. The unchosen stir. Kalira gasped, wings flaring wide. It cannot be. Tessera's hand went instantly to her weapon. You know that voice. It is myth. The unchosen were said to dwell beneath the world, ancient beings of pure thought, banished when creation chose form over void. Rylan frowned. Ancient beings waking up because of a relationship choice? That's new. Kalira shook her head slowly. Not your relationship, your defiance. You broke a law woven into the fabric of this world. The temple is bound to that law. It has awakened something that remembers when laws were first written. The first tremor hours later. The council chamber of Velthara Prime was in chaos. Dravari diplomats shimmered in agitation, their crystalline tones overlapping like discordant chimes. Lyran officers barked in low, metallic voices, slamming fists on the obsidian tables. At the center stood Rylan, silent, arms folded, watching the debate spiral into madness. He desecrated the temple, hissed one Dravari elder. He united what cannot be joined, countered a Lyran general, sneering. Perhaps the humans have no understanding of sanctity. He risked everything to save us, shouted Kalira, stepping forward. And you would condemn him for showing compassion? Compassion is not order, the elder retorted. Our balance depends on separation. Without it, we are nothing. Rylan sighed. I didn't mean to break your cosmic furniture. I just didn't think peace needed walls. Tessera smirked faintly beside him. You really know how to make friends, Commander. Yeah, it's a gift. Then, the lights flickered. For a heartbeat, the twin suns outside dimmed. Every being in the room froze as a low vibration passed through the floor. Not an earthquake, but a pulse. Deep, rhythmic, ancient. Kalira's voice was barely a whisper. Their awakening echoes beneath the world that night. Rylan couldn't sleep. His quarters in the upper spire of the capital were luxurious, far more than he needed. But no amount of soft lighting or alien perfume could quiet the hum beneath the city. He stood by the window, watching the twin suns vanish behind the jagged peaks of the Cradle Mountains, where the temple of binding light rested at their base. Lightning flickered over the horizon, distant but constant. Like the planet's heartbeat had gone irregular, the door hissed open. Kalira entered first, cloaked in soft luminescence. I could feel your thoughts, she said. There. Loud. Sorry, Rylan said. Guess I'm not used to being telepathically eavesdropped on. Her expression softened. Your mind burns bright. Hard to ignore. A moment later, Tessera appeared, uninvited, tossing a datapad onto the table. Reports from the surface mines. Seismic activity directly under the temple. Unnatural readings. Energy signatures older than either of our species. Rylan frowned, scrolling through the data. And let me guess, no one's seen anything like it before? Not since the last extinction event. Tessera replied. Kalira's wings shivered. The unchosen once shaped worlds, Rylan. Their awakening may mean the end of ours. Rylan looked at them both, the healer and the warrior. Light and shadow, peace and fire, standing on either side of him like mirrored opposites. Then we find out what woke them up, together. Tessera crossed her arms. You're assuming we can even work together. Kalira met her gaze. We already are. The Lyran scowled but said nothing. For a moment, the tension between them became something electric, not hostility, but friction. An invisible current. Rylan stepped between them, eyes fixed on the lightning far beyond the city. Tomorrow we go to the temple. If something's waking up, I want to see it for myself. Kalira nodded gravely. Then we must be ready. The unchosen are not beings of matter. They are thought, the remnants of creation's first choice. They feed on imbalance. Imbalance, Rylan repeated slowly. You mean conflict? Tessera grinned humorlessly. Well, then they picked the perfect planet. The night of silence just before dawn. Velthara Prime went quiet. Every communication relay, every power grid, every starship orbiting the planet, dead in an instant. The twin suns dimmed to a cold white glow, and in the center of the sky, a single black fissure opened like a wound. The voice came again, clear, resonant, echoing in every mind across the planet. Two souls united, the old law broken, the unchosen rise. Rylan staggered, clutching his temples. Kaelira collapsed to her knees, her wings flickering erratically. Tessera growled, trying to stay upright as the air around them shimmered with distortion. Through the window, they saw it. The temple of binding light had split open. Beams of obsidian light shot into the sky, twisting reality like molten glass. Kaelira gasped. They're not just awakening. They're rebuilding. Rebuilding what? Rylan demanded. Tessera's voice was low, grim. The world that existed before ours, outside. The mountains began to tremble, and something vast and luminous stirred beneath them. Rising toward the surface, Rylan looked from the window to the two alien women beside him. One glowing, one burning, both terrified but unbroken. He grinned despite himself, the adrenaline sharpening his thoughts. Well, he said, grabbing his gauntlet from the table. Looks like my romantic life just started the apocalypse. Tessera snorted. Congratulations, human. Kaelira's voice was soft but steady. Then we must end it, together. And as the world began to shake, the three of them raced toward the temple, toward the source of the awakening, toward the heart of a mystery that would change the stars themselves. By the time Rylan, Kaelira, and Tessera reached the mountain pass, the sky had already turned into a living wound. Violet clouds spiraling toward a single point of darkness above the temple's spires. The air was charged with static, thick enough to taste. Even the twin suns seemed dimmer, as though watching in fear. The once harmonious hum of the temple had become a shriek. The crystalline towers of the Dravari cities below flickered like dying stars, while Lyran gunships hovered in tense formation, unwilling to approach. No one dared enter. No one but them. The Decentralan adjusted the seals on his combat gauntlet as the trio reached the entrance. The colossal doors, each a fusion of black stone and luminous crystal, had split open, as though torn by invisible hands. Inside, darkness pulsed with a rhythm that matched his heartbeat. Tessera scanned the threshold with a handheld sensor. The device sparked and died instantly. Nothing electronics going to survive in there. She muttered, field interferences off the charts. Kaelira stepped closer to the dark archway, her hand hovering over the air as though feeling for heat. It's not interference, she whispered. It's will. Rylan frowned. You mean it's alive? Not in the way we are, Kaelira replied. It's consciousness without form. The temple was always meant to contain it. Contain what? She looked at him, violet eyes shimmering with unease. The unchosen. They stepped inside. The moment they crossed the threshold, the air thickened. Rylan's breath came out visible, though it wasn't cold. The corridor ahead stretched far beyond what physics should have allowed, shifting, folding, endless. The walls flickered between crystal and shadow, as though reality couldn't decide what it wanted to be. Their footsteps echoed out of sync, like time itself was stuttering. Rylan glanced around. Either I'm losing my mind, or this hallway just got longer. Tessera smirked faintly. Welcome to the club. Kaelira's wings flared softly, casting refracted light ahead of them. Stay close. The temple is reacting to us. Reacting how? Rylan asked. She hesitated. It mirrors what we bring within. Fear strengthens it. Division feeds it. Then what stabilizes it? Tessera asked. Unity. Rylan looked at both of them, and something passed between the three. A brief spark of understanding, fragile but real. They didn't need to speak it aloud. They walked together, step for step. The heart of the Templifter what felt like hours or seconds. It was impossible to tell. The corridor opened into a vast chamber that pulsed with alien light. The floor was a perfect mirror. Above them, a floating sphere of black crystal rotated slowly. Engraved with glowing sigils, that shifted to fast-to-read. Round its edges, fragments of statues floated, half-formed beings of impossible geometry. Their faces blurred, their outlines wrong. They looked ancient, yet half-born, as if they were still deciding what to be. Tessera raised her plasma spear. "What the hell are those?" Lyra stepped forward reverently. "Echoes, fragments of the unchosen. The first minds that ever existed, before matter, before form." Rylan squinted at the sphere. "So they're ideas?" "Pure consciousness," she said. "When creation divided light from void, choice from chaos, they refused to choose. So they were cast out, buried beneath worlds, sealed in temples like this. And now they're waking up," Rylan murmured. "Because I made a choice they couldn't predict." Lyra nodded slowly. "Because you chose both." The voicey low vibration rippled through the chamber. Then a voice, not heard, but felt, echoed through their skulls. "One becomes two. Two becomes one. The law is broken." Tessera gritted her teeth. "Show yourself." The sphere pulsed, and light poured outward, coalescing into 3 ghostly figures. They had no faces, no solid shape, only outlines of luminous energy, like sketches drawn in fire. Balance undone, the voices layered. Form and void must choose again. Lyra stepped forward, trembling. "We do not seek to undo the balance. We seek harmony." "Harmony is a lie," said the first figure. "Choice must divide," said the second. "You bring corruption, unity where there should be separation," said the third. Rylan clenched his fists. "Listen, I didn't come here to break your laws. I came to stop people from dying, then die with them," the 3 voices answered. And the chamber erupted in light. The battle floor split open. Waves of dark matter poured from the cracks, forming monstrous silhouettes. Bodies made of shadow and memory. The first of the unchosen constructs lunged, its form shifting between metal and crystal. Rylan's gauntlet flared to life, blue-white plasma igniting across his arm. He met the creature's strike with a kinetic blast that shattered its torso, fragments scattering like ash. "Guess we're doing this the hard way." Tessera spun her spear in a silver arc, slicing through another construct. The weapon's edge screamed with electromagnetic energy. "You're welcome for the backup, human." Lyra moved differently, gracefully, almost like a dancer. Every motion sent waves of light through the air, dissolving shadows where they touched. Her healing energy burned as fiercely as any weapon. But for every one they destroyed, 2 more rose. The chamber trembled. The sphere pulsed faster, drawing power from their struggle. Lyra shouted above the noise. "They feed on our separation. We must synchronize." "How?" Tessera yelled back. "You're light, I'm metal, and he's reckless." Rylan offered, "Human." Tessera snapped. Lyra reached out, glowing brighter. "Then act human. Connect." Rylan hesitated only a moment. Then he grabbed their hands, one of crystal light, one of forged steel, and closed his eyes. The Unionth world went silent. In that instant, Rylan wasn't standing in the temple anymore. He was floating in a void of stars, Lyra on one side, Tessera on the other, their forms glowing with energy that pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. Their minds touched. He felt Lyra's serenity, endless as starlight, her fear of conflict, her hope for healing. He felt Tessera's fire, sharp and alive, her longing for purpose, her pain buried under layers of pride. And within himself, he felt the raw, imperfect humanity that had driven him to save them both. The refusal to choose between light and shadow, their energies intertwined, forming a triad of color and motion, blue, violet, silver, spiraling into perfect resonance. The sphere above them cracked. The awakening construct screamed and dissolved, torn apart by the sudden surge of balanced energy. The Unchosen's voice returned, but it was no longer wrathful. It was curious. 3 bound as one. The law, redefined. The black sphere split open entirely, revealing a crystalline core that hovered between them, pulsing with life. Lyra's voice trembled. "It's not angry anymore." Tessera lowered her weapon. "So what now? We just made friends with a god?" The core floated toward Rylan, stopping inches from his chest. It pulsed once and sank into him. He gasped as energy surged through his veins. Visions filled his mind, galaxies being born, stars dying, civilizations rising and falling. The Unchosen weren't just ancient beings. They were the architects of possibility, the memory of what could have been. The triad is formed, the voice whispered inside his mind. Creation rewritten, unity achieved, then silence. The chamber dimmed, the mirror floor solidified. The fissures in the walls sealed themselves, leaving only faint glowing scars. Rylan staggered, catching his breath. Kalira and Tessra rushed to his sides. Rylan. Kalira cried. Are you? He exhaled, eyes glowing faintly with light. I'm fine, I think. I think they're gone. Tessra eyed him warily. Gone, or in you? He smiled faintly. Does it matter? We're still here. The aftermath. They climbed back to the surface hours later. The sun's rising over a world reborn. The skies had cleared. The black fissure was gone. The energy storms had faded. But something fundamental had changed. Dravari and Lyran's sensors reported a new anomaly at the temple site. A gravitational field unlike anything on record, centered around 3 signatures, one human, one crystalline, one metallic. Kale Ira looked at the horizon. The Unchosen are not destroyed. They are part of us now. Tessra crossed her arms. Great. Now we're walking cosmic paradoxes. Rylan smiled, eyes still faintly glowing. Maybe that's what peace was always meant to be, a paradox that works. The wind swept through the temple ruins, carrying whispers that only they could hear. 3 souls as one. The cycle begins anew, and for the first time in centuries, the twin suns rose not onto nations, but on 3 united beings, bound by choice, and watched by the ancient silence of the stars. The suns rose over Velthara Prime with a brilliance unseen in 1,000 years. Light spilled across the crystalline cities and steel fortresses, painting the united world in twin hues, gold and silver. The war-scarred lands that once divided the Dravari dominion and Lyran's syndicate now pulsed with new life. Grass sprouted where craters had been. The air itself seemed to hum with quiet purpose. But at the heart of the planet, atop the reborn temple of binding light, 3 figures stood in silence. The triadrilan Kale gazed at his reflection in the obsidian pool before him. The man who stared back wasn't the same soldier who'd crash-landed on Velthara 6 months ago. His once gray eyes now shimmered faintly with threads of blue and gold. As though the stars themselves had found a home behind them, Kalira stood to his left, wings folded in calm radiance. Her body no longer refracted light, she emanated it, a steady glow that warmed the air. Her connection to the Dravari life energies had deepened. Where she walked, crystalline flowers bloomed from the very ground. On his right, Tessra leaned against her spear, her armor now laced with veins of living light. The metallic sheen of her skin had softened, infused with something organic, something alive. When she moved, faint echoes of energy followed, remnants of her bond with the Unchosen. They were no longer simply 3 people. They were a system, a harmony of mind and matter, flesh and energy, choice and consequence. The triad of Velt Hera. And the universe had taken notice. The Council of Rebirth Unified Council convened that morning. For the first time in recorded history, Dravari elders, Lyran warlords, and human envoys seated together beneath the twin suns. The massive amphitheater buzzed with apprehension as the triad approached. Jivar, the Lyran overlord, rose first. His obsidian eyes glowed faintly, but his voice carried the weight of respect. Rylan Kale, Kalira, Tessra, you have done what no generation could. You have awakened gods and lived to tell it. Solara, High Matron of the Dravari, stepped forward next. Her crystalline face reflected 1,000 colors of light. The Unchosen slumber again, but their essence remains within you. The balance has not been broken. It has been rewritten. Rylan inclined his head. We didn't intend to rewrite anything. We just refused to choose between halves of the same whole. A murmur spread through the assembly. Jivar clasped his gauntleted hands. The Unchosen's final surge, the energy that tore through our world, left something behind. A gateway. It hovers above the temple, stable but unreadable. What is it? Kalira looked up, her voice soft and melodic. It is not a weapon. It is a path. Tessra finished the thought. To where? We don't know yet. The holographic projection of the gateway appeared behind them. a ring of interlocking energy symbols floating in the air, shimmering with dark light. Within its center swirled a void that seemed to show movement, as if stars were drifting through it. "It's calling to us," Kalira said. "To all of us." The pull of the unknown. Later that night, as the sun sank below the horizon, the three of them stood beneath the hovering gateway. The portal's hum was low but constant, like the breath of the world. Tessra adjusted the strap of her spear across her back. "You realize if we step through that thing, we might not come back. Coming back's overrated," Rylan said, half grinning. Kalira smiled faintly. Always the human answer. He looked between them. "You don't have to come with me, either of you." Kalira's gaze softened. "We are bound, Rylan. Where you walk, we walk." Tessra tilted her head, smirking. "Besides, someone has to keep you from getting yourself killed again." They stood together for a long moment, gazing up at the gateway, three silhouettes beneath two suns. Caught between the known and the infinite, the ground beneath them pulsed once, resonating with the energy that lived inside their very bones. Rylan felt it, the unchosen whispering through him, gentle now, almost guiding. "Three souls, one path. The bridge awaits. The journey beyond." They stepped into the light. For an instant, there was nothing, no up, no down, no time. Then came sensation, motion, sound, color, all collapsing into a single pulse. When it cleared, they were standing in a place that wasn't a place. An endless expanse of stars arranged in geometric symmetry. The constellations themselves seemed to shift and breathe, forming patterns that resembled living thought. Kalira gasped softly. "This isn't space, it's between spaces." Tessra crouched, running her hand along the ground, if it could be called that. "Solid energy. It's a construct." Rylan turned slowly, feeling a hum deep within his chest. The gateway floated behind them, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. "The Unchosen built this," a soft voice answered. "Not alien this time, but familiar." "No, Rylan Kale, you did." The stars ahead rearranged, forming the vague outlines of three luminous beings, echoes of Kalira, Tessra, and himself. Their faces glowed with tranquil power. Kalira's wings fluttered. "They are us. You remade the pattern." The voices continued. "By choosing both, you ended division. The triad is balance. The triad is creation." Rylan frowned. "So what now? What do you want us to do?" "Not what we want," the echoes replied. "What you will." The light pulsed around them, spreading across the endless expanse like ripples in a cosmic sea. Stars flared brighter. Nebulae formed where there had been emptiness. Tessra exhaled slowly. "They're giving it to us, power. Creation itself." Rylan turned to the others. "Then we have to use it right." Kalira placed her hand over his. "To build, not rule." Tessra smirked faintly. "And to make sure no one ever forgets what unity really costs." The echoes began to fade, their voices growing distant. "Remember, Triad of Valthara, harmony is not stillness. It is motion. Keep moving. Keep creating." And then they were gone. The return when they stepped back through the portal. Hours had passed, or maybe centuries. Time had no meaning in the void between. But the world that greeted them was subtly changed. The skies shimmered with new constellations, patterns that hadn't existed before. Three of them formed a triangle across the heavens, glowing brighter than all others. Tessra gazed upward. "Looks like the Unchosen left us a signature." Kalira smiled. "No, we left it." Rylan stood between them, the twin suns casting their long shadows across the new world. "So what happens now?" he asked quietly. Kalira took his hand. "We guide." Tessra took the other. "We protect." He smiled, looking between them, light and shadow, peace and strength, two halves of a single truth. "Then," he said, "we begin." Epilogue. The constellation of the Triad. Centuries later, travelers across the Orion Arm would tell the story of the Triad of Valthara. Three souls who refused to choose, and in doing so, created harmony itself. They would look up at the night sky and see three stars forming a perfect triangle, one blue, one silver, one violet, eternally linked. Scholars called it the constellation of the Triad. Pilgrims called it the promise of choice, and those who still believed whispered its other name, the constellation of the Unchosen. Because some laws, once broken, don't end the world. They remake it.